You know, most priests don't do that, and I realize kids get scared when the priest calls them up to the front of the church and they go, uh-oh, something's wrong. I must have done something. So, but anyway, yeah, I appreciate you for being brave and coming up. This is a great story, one of my favorites in the scriptures. But a lot of times I think we look at this man, he's young, he's rich, he's got all this money, and he chooses money over Jesus, and we kind of, we give him a hard time. We're like, surely he would have known better. Yeah, I know, but actually, first place, we need to see it inside the culture. Now, the number one thing to the ancient Jews in the time of Jesus was to obey the law, to be good, righteous people, to be respected in the community, and to do all the sacrifices, make all the pilgrimages, do all the festivals, to contribute to your synagogue, contribute to the temple. In other words, only rich people could follow the law. So when Jesus is asking him to give up his wealth, he realizes, if I do that, then I'll become a dirty, rotten sinner. I won't be able to pay for the sacrifices, make the feasts, make the pilgrimages. I'll become a sinner if I give up my wealth. And besides, it was believed at that time that if you had money, it was because God loved you, God blessed you, and to give it away would be an insult to God. So he's very confused. It's not so much that he's rejecting Jesus as he's just confused. In fact, even the disciples were confused, didn't they? When Jesus says it's as hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven as it is for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, they go, who can be saved? If a rich person who can afford to do the sacrifices, the temples, the feasts, if he can't be saved, then who can be saved? We're all doomed. See, the issue here was not so much keeping the law or being righteous or doing the right things or even giving up the stuff, but it's where do you put your trust? Do you put your trust in your ability to meet all the commandments of the law, or do you put your trust in God's mercy? See, what the rich man didn't understand, he thought he was a righteous person. He did all the rules. He kept all the rules. He never missed a Sunday obligation. He did all the things he was supposed to do. And he didn't realize that even still, he's a dirty, rotten sinner. Jesus told a great story about a Pharisee who kept all the rules, and he goes to the temple to pray, and he does what you're supposed to, right? He thanks God. He gives God thanks that he is a righteous man, and he's not like that dirty, rotten sinner next to him, the tax collector, who in the time of Jesus, a tax collector was considered to be a traitor and a thief. About as low as you could get. But what Jesus keeps teaching us again and again in the scriptures is that we're all dirty, rotten sinners. We're just much beloved, dirty, rotten sinners. It's not that we're able to keep all the rules and to do everything right. It's that God's love and mercy washes us clean. It's His love and mercy in which we put our trust, not our own ability to keep all the rules and to do things right. St. Paul, who was probably a pretty good guy, he said that the best he had to offer, his greatest righteousness, was before God like the filthiest of rags. Yes, we're all dirty, rotten sinners, but we are much beloved, dirty, rotten sinners. And when we place our trust in God's love and God's mercy, then we can know joy. But the young man, he was confused. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to do it. And so he went away sad. Peter is actually the other rich man in the story. We don't get that because the New Testament doesn't really talk about it. But in the archaeological excavations in Capernaum, which is where Peter lived. They find Peter's house, they excavate it, and they discover something. Peter was not just a fisherman. He was the president of a fishing empire. He had lots of boats. He had other fishermen working for him, and he even had a fish processing plant right next to his house. He was a very wealthy man, a very powerful man. But yet, as he points out in this gospel, that we've given up everything to follow you. And Jesus said, anyone who gives up houses or brothers or sisters or lands or wealth or status, anybody who gives up to follow me will receive 100 times as much in this world, in this age, with persecutions, but in the age to come, eternal life. Why does Jesus add that little with persecutions? First, let's take a look at Peter's life. Peter really becomes a fulfillment of that word of Jesus, because although he gave up his house, in fact, he converted his house into a church. If you go there now, you see where the altar is and how Peter created into his house a church. But yet, wherever Peter traveled, the family of God welcomed him and brought him in. You see, it's not about us having private stuff. It's about us all being of one family. And yes, even the family of God around the world. St. James says, all things are yours because all things are God and you belong to God, and so God gives you all things. We can live our life in the fulfillment of the richness and the joy and the provision of God, which is much better than just having a bank account. And the end of this story is very sad, because this wealthy young man, not too many years after that, the Roman army came through and reduced Jerusalem to rubble. Everything he wanted to hold on to, he lost anyway. And the one thing that could have given him joy, given him eternity, that he couldn't grasp. Jesus calls us all, because we're all in the same boat. Everything that we have, we're going to give up at one point. To hold lightly to the things of this world so that we can hold tightly to the love and mercy of God. And beloved St. Francis, he used to say, the only stuff you get to take with you when you die is what you gave away when you were alive. Jesus calls us to store up riches in heaven. And when we can generously share, then we receive blessings that we cannot imagine. But then Jesus also adds, with persecutions. That's a tough thing for Jesus to add, but here's the truth. Those who choose to follow God with their whole hearts will always be misunderstood by those who seek to have the success of this world. Even our beloved Mother Teresa, do you know she was kicked out of a convent early in her career? They kicked her out. And you know why? She was so devoted to God and she so desired to grow in her spiritual life that they accused her of spending too much time with her spiritual director. Surely they must be having an affair. And they kicked her out of the convent. Those who choose to live their lives wholly for God will always be misunderstood and have to deal with the accusations and the thoughts of others that just they can't see committing yourself that much to God, because they can't commit themselves that much to God. And those who cannot commit to God cannot look themselves in the mirror in the morning unless they are certain that everybody else is just as bad as they are. But Jesus offers joy. Jesus offers fulfillment. Jesus offers the wonders of the wealth of God. But first we must let go of the things of this earth that seek to possess us. It's not the fact that Jesus is against us having possessions, but he is against our possessions possessing us. So he says, hold lightly to the things of this world. Grip tightly the love and mercy of God. And know the joy, know the fulfillment, and know the riches of God that are beyond measure. For he is the one to whom we look. He is the one to whom we sing. Oh, and I was going to sing you a little song. I almost forgot to do that. It's a song I used to sing when I was much younger, and some of you probably know it. It goes like this. Lord, you are more precious than silver. Lord, you are more costly than gold. Lord, you are more beautiful than diamonds, and nothing I desire compares with you. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty,